But when somebody doesn't like us as a person, we take that personally. And if you're anything like I was before recovery, you make it mean that there's something bad or wrong with you. And if we do that, then we make it our mission to try to get them to like us. Maybe we bend over backwards and try to pretend that we like things we don't, or whatever. Or we try to turn ourselves into an apple or a mango. Meanwhile, we were born as a peach. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery, where I help people heal their emotional, psychological, and spiritual wounds and make deep, lasting changes in their lives. I'm the founder and CEO of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting, LLC, where I coach people on how to develop healthy boundaries. On this podcast, I share my experience, strength, and hope from recovery. I don't support or endorse any particular 12-step recovery fellowship, and I don't claim to speak for any particular 12-step fellowship. I also don't believe that 12-step recovery is the only way to recover. You might need additional help. My hope is that you'll find my words concretely helpful in improving your life, whether you're in recovery or not. This is episode 145. How to stop worrying about other people's opinions and start worrying about your own. Years before I was in recovery, I was part of a spiritual sharing circle for about 5 years, and in it was a guy who'd been in AA for a long time. And he would pretty regularly say, "It's none of your business what other people think of you." And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I had absolutely no idea what that meant. And every time I would think about it for like the next 15 years, I just could not wrap my mind around what that even meant. Now, I'm a pretty intelligent person and I know what the definitions of those words mean. But because I was so fucking codependent, I was riveted on what other people thought, especially what they thought of me. So I just couldn't get it. Then, the first meeting I went to in my second fellowship, I heard something that changed everything for me. The first presenter said many brilliant things, one of which was, "It's none of your business what other people think of you. What is your business is what you think of you." And I was like, okay. Now, I still didn't quite get it, but I knew this was the opening to the door of understanding for me. So I want to spend some time talking about that today. And I'm going to start by borrowing a couple of concepts from Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School, because I think she is brilliant at talking about this stuff. One of her concepts is to think about it like this. Let's say you're a peach and somebody bites into you and they don't like you because they don't like peaches in general. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you as a peach, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with a person biting into the peach. They just don't like peaches. Now, it's easy to understand this concept and buy into it when we're talking about peaches. But when somebody doesn't like us as a person, we take that personally. And if you're anything like I was before recovery, you make it mean that there's something bad or wrong with you. And if we do that, then we make it our mission to try to get them to like us. Maybe we bend over backwards and try to pretend that we like things we don't, or whatever. Or we try to turn ourselves into an apple or a mango. Meanwhile, we were born as a peach. Or we try to make that person be wrong, like they are somehow a bad person because they don't like us. And we do all this because we care more what they think about us than what we think about us. Now, I go into this peach thing in more detail in episode 128, which I'll link in the show notes. It's called, "Are You a Peach or a Pear? Not Everyone is Going to Like You." So listen, people, you're a peach. And you get to continue being a peach. Some people just don't like peaches. And they're not bad or wrong for not liking peaches. And you're not bad or wrong for being a mango or a coconut or a pear or a kumquat. Now, the other thing that Brooke Castillo talks about is what she calls the constant. And the constant she's talking about is you. So here's how she explains it. Let's say you walk into a room and there are 10 different people. If what you do and say really influenced exactly what they think of you, then all 10 of those people would think the exact same thing of you. But they don't. The reality is every single one of those people is going to have a different opinion of you. It's not based on who you are and what you do. You're the same you. You're the constant. But their opinions are based on them, their life experience, and especially their perceptions. And perception is so individualized and subjective. Here are some examples. So you walk into a room and you say, does anybody have any chapstick? And one person mishears you and they think you said, does anybody want to watch some slapstick? And they fucking hate slapstick. And they're like, oh my God, who is this person who wants to watch slapstick? What an asshole. And for those of you who don't know what slapstick is, it's an old time kind of physical comedy from years and years and years ago. Okay, maybe one of the other person in the room thinks you look just like their neighbor's mom when they were growing up and they loved her because she was so sweet and kind. So they automatically like you because you remind them of her. And then there's somebody else in the room who doesn't like you at all because you have red hair and their third grade teacher who was a bitch had red hair. So you can see what I mean. These people's opinions of you are based on their life experience and their perceptions. It's not based on who you are or what you did or said. Now, let's add on to all of this the fact that we just can't control other people. We can't control what they think, what they do, what they feel, how they act. We can only control ourselves. Now, I want to go back to that saying that I heard in that first recovery meeting, which is, it's none of my business what other people think of me, but what is my business is what I think of me. In other words, keep the focus on yourself. So let's take this back to the serenity prayer yet again. We want the wisdom to know the difference between the things we can and cannot change. And what we cannot change is other people's opinions of us or of anything else. But what we can change is ourselves, including our opinions and what we focus on. Like, for example, focusing on what we think of us instead of what others think of us, and prioritizing our own opinions over the opinions of others. Most of the time when we want other people to like us, it's because we don't like us. So I want to challenge you to summon the courage to change what you can, such as your opinion about yourself and your focus on what others think, whether it's what they think about you or what they think is beautiful or worthy or important. I can tell you right now, you're going to give so much less of a shit what other people think about you when you start liking yourself. Now, if you need help with that, I did 2 episodes about the 16 things I learned from recovery about how to start loving myself. I'll put links to those in the show notes. They're episodes 136 and 137. Now, back to the serenity prayer. We want to accept the things we cannot change, which is other people's opinions, whether it's opinions of us or other things. If you were to start taking all of the energy that you put into trying to get other people to like you and put it into you liking you, holy shit, you're not going to believe how much energy becomes available to you. The way that you can start liking you is by doing things that make you proud. In 12-step recovery, the way we talk about that is we practice these principles in all our affairs. On a personal level, that means we live in accordance with our own values. Now, if you aren't clear what your values are and you're in recovery, then you might want to start by practicing the principles of the 12 steps and 12 traditions in your affairs. Borrow those principles to get started. And then, as you start focusing on living up to those principles, you'll see that some of them work really well for you, and maybe some don't. And you'll start to kind of figure out, what are my principles? What's important to me? And as you start living your life in line with your principles, you're going to like yourself more, and you're going to give less shits about what other people think about you. And what's really cool is you're going to start attracting people who care about the stuff you care about, people whose principles are in line with yours, and people who also have integrity and live up to their own principles. Here's an example. Let's say that you care deeply about the environment, which I hope you do. I hope everybody cares about the environment. But if it's a really high priority, like one of your top 3 or 4 values, you're going to engage in behaviors that are supportive of the environment. You're going to steer clear of people and organizations that do not prioritize the environment. You're going to start engaging in organizations and hanging around with people that prioritize the environment, which means you're going to start hanging out with people who prioritize the environment, which means they're more likely to like you because you have this very strong value in common. So, my friends, stop wasting your energy and trying to influence other people's opinions. It's none of your business what other people think. It's especially none of your business what they think of you. What is your business is what you think and what you think of you. Stop worrying about other people's opinions about you or anything else and start focusing on what you think. And I hope that what you think is that you are a beloved child of God, because it's a fact. You are a beloved child of God who was created by love, in love, for love, to love. And there's nothing you can do about it. You may not believe it, but I don't give a shit. It's still true. So go out there and start focusing on your own opinions, especially your opinion of yourself.